Little Kito had the softest gray fur anyone had ever seen, but his dreams were heavier than his tiny paws could carry. Every morning before the twin suns rose, Kito woke up in their narrow shelter on the edge of Station Halcyon. The walls hummed with old power lines, and the air smelled faintly of recycled metal and soup. His mama, Mira, was already awake, her worn work gloves tied with careful knots. "Study well today," she'd say softly, brushing Kito's ears. "One day, your mind will carry you farther than my feet ever could." Kito would nod, even though his eyes burned with unshed tears. Mama worked 3 grueling shifts, cleaning docking bays for massive off-world freighters. She always smiled when she spoke to him, but late at night, Kito had seen her shoulders shake with exhaustion when she thought he was asleep. Their home station, Halcyon, was a bustling hub where dozens of species lived together. There were humans, feline folk like Kito, feathered sky children, scaled tunnelers, and most exciting of all, alien cubs from distant star systems. Kito attended the Interstellar Junior Academy, a colossal school ring orbiting the station. It was a place of immense knowledge, wonder, and for Kito, quiet cruelty. He always sat at the back of the classroom, his second-hand tablet flickering as its old battery struggled to hold a charge. Around him, the other alien cubs laughed, showing off their expensive holo-projects and shiny Data crystals, gifted by their wealthy parents. One day Zrex, a tall reptilian cub with polished, gleaming scales, snickered from across the room. "Hey, furball," he sneered, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Your screen looks older than my great-grandclutch." A ripple of laughter spread through the class. Kito's ears drooped. He lowered his head and tried to focus on the lesson. Galactic History: The Rise of Humanity. The teacher, an old avian scholar, spoke with pride. Humans were small, fragile. They were underestimated, yet they refused extinction. When the stars themselves turned hostile, they adapted. When entire galaxies doubted them, they proved the universe wrong. Kito listened, hanging on every word. Something about the story of humanity always stirred his heart, giving him a strange sense of hope. After school, while the other cubs boarded their private transports, Kito walked the long way home alone. He deliberately passed by his mama's work bay and peeked inside. He saw her on her hands and knees, scrubbing stubborn fuel residue from the deck plates. Her fur was matted with grime, and her eyes were heavy with fatigue. He quickly turned away, hiding in the shadows so she wouldn't see him cry. That night, Kito dreamed. He saw himself standing on a bright, beautiful world with lush fields and green skies. He was wearing a scholar's cloak, the kind he'd only seen in Holovitz. His mama stood right beside him, and her smile was free from pain and exhaustion. Great starships landed, and voices called his name not with mockery, but with respect. But just as the dream reached its peak, it shattered, and he woke up back in his cold, narrow bunk. The following week, disaster struck the academy. During a routine experiment in the junior science lab, a critical containment field failed. A volatile energy core began to destabilize, and the entire academy ring was flooded with blaring radiation alarms. Emergency doors slammed shut. Red lights flashed, painting the hallways in a terrifying glow. Panic erupted. "Kids, stay calm," the teacher cried out, but his voice was drowned out by the chaos. It was hard to stay calm when the walls themselves were vibrating and the emergency AI stuttered, completely overwhelmed by the cascading system failures. Suddenly, Kito's old tablet, the one everyone made fun of, biped wildly. A message flashed on its flickering screen. "Error. Core breach, manual stabilization required." Below it, a set of complex instructions appeared for a brief moment. The system needed someone to crawl into a tiny maintenance duct of space, far too small for most adults, and manually reroute the power conduits to prevent a catastrophic explosion. The duct was dangerously irradiated. It was a suicide mission. The alien cubs were frozen in terror. "I'm not going in there," Drex hissed, his scales losing their shine in his fear. Kito's heart pounded in his chest, a frantic drum against his ribs. He remembered his mama's words, "Your mind will carry you farther." He thought of her tired face, her endless sacrifice. He raised a trembling paw. "I can do it," he said, his voice small but clear. The teacher stared at him, aghast. That crawl space is lethal, son. Kito swallowed the lump in his throat. If no one goes, we all get hurt. Before his own fear could stop him, Kito squeezed through the small access panel. The crawl space was a furnace. The radiation felt like 1,000 tiny needles stinging his fur. His paws trembled uncontrollably as he followed the flashing arrows on his tablet's screen, his only guide in the darkness. Every second felt like an eternity. "Come on, please," he whispered to the failing machinery. Outside, the other cubs watched the core's countdown timer drop closer and closer to 0. Zrex the bully clenched his claws, his bravado gone. "You'll die in there," he whispered, his voice shaking. Just then, a new voice crackled over the emergency channel. It was calm, steady, and human. "This is Maintenance Officer Hale. Kid, whoever you are, you're doing great. We're tracking your progress. Just follow the schematic. Humans believe in you." Kito blinked through tears. Someone believed in him. Ah, human. Bolstered by that simple, powerful statement, he reached out and rerouted the final, crucial conduit. A second later, the alarm stopped. The deafening sirens fell silent. The emergency light switched back to a calm, steady white. The Academy ring was saved. Having used his last ounce of strength, Kito collapsed onto the metal floor of the duct. When I woke up, he was in the pristine white of the medical bay. His mama was there, clutching his paw, her face wet with tears that now flowed freely. "You foolish, brave, wonderful cub," she sobbed, holding him tight. "Why didn't you think of yourself?" Kito managed a weak smile. "I thought of the future," he whispered. News of his bravery spread through the station like wildfire. The alien cubs, who once laughed at him, now stood in quiet respect as he returned to school. Zrex approached him, his head lowered in shame. "I was wrong about you," he said, his voice barely audible. You're strong." But that wasn't all. The Academy Council, led by its human administrators, made a special announcement. In recognition of extraordinary courage, intelligence, and self-sacrifice, Kito is hereby awarded a full interstellar scholarship, with all expenses paid to any institution of his choosing. Mama cried again when she heard the news, but this time they were tears of pure joy. Years passed. Kito grew from a small, scared kitten into a brilliant scholar. His name known across dozens of star systems, he dedicated his life to studying human resilience and alien unity.